We have different hierarchies in the GCP. Before that, let's understand within the BigQuery how the data structure maintained. I am in the BigQuery Studio. In the left hand the pane, we can expand. We have multiple objects here, but data sets are the one which is going to hold the tables or the views. So you will select the project. Under project, you will have the data holders or the data sets. So these are different for the different functionalities, but the actual data will reside in the data sets. So these are the data sets. So if I'm expanding, you have the tables and the views directly available under the data set. We don't have the concept of SQL schema as we have in SQL Server, where in every database we can have multiple schemas. So a schema will behave as a second level hierarchy. Then within the schema you can have multiple tables or the views. But here in BigQuery, under project you have the dataset. Under dataset you have the tables or the views directly. So with this one, keep this in mind with respect to the BigQuery. Let's move to the overall hierarchy in the GCP portal itself. So when an organization is having an account with the GCP, this become a tenant. So organization will be a tenant directly. So this is the top level hierarchy in the GCP. Under that we have multiple folders. We can have multiple folders, and you can have subfolders also. So hierarchy within the folder as we are having in our laptops. So these folders, and within the folder can have multiple projects. Okay, this is on one side. This is on the hierarchy of how we can organize the data or your data structures. On the other side, within the organization you can have one or more billing accounts. Billing accounts is the way that you can manage the billing. So these billing accounts can be linked with many projects, one or more projects. In case if we want to have a you want to maintain the billing separately by different departments, then you can have those billing administrators separately and for specific billing accounts, and that can be linked with a department wise project in case if you want to handle that way, like marketing and finance. So you can have a separate billing account, separate projects, and you can maintain that way. Or if you don't want, if you are having a single billing account, maybe this will be assigned to all the projects within the GCP. So here is where we are coming into the part of the BigQuery we have just saw. In the BigQuery we saw under the project we have the data sets, the tables and view. Okay, this gives an overall hierarchy structure how the GCP is performing. Then this is also from the GCP documentation. You can consider that as a suggestion from the GCP. In the organization level we have the company. This is the tenant for the GCP. And in the folders, the suggestions from the GCP is about you can organize the folders by department. Department can have teams can have products, and the products can have the projects. These projects in the example it is mentioned as having a development, the environments mentioned here, development, test, and the production. So in my opinion, if we need to see if we want this structure really, because this will increase the number of projects, and maybe it's very cumbersome to maintain the IAM permissions if you are having many number of projects. Like you have here in this case, you have to multiply this 3 into the number of projects and number of teams into the number of departments. Okay, so this project will have the resources. So this is not the data structure, because this is how the resources are grouped together for the billing purposes. Okay, but we are in this video we are focusing more on how we are organizing the data, especially we are relating to the overall tenant from the tenant to the data set level. This is what we are discussing here. So in my opinion, we can do a little bit change here to bring this environment to the folder level and bring this department case into the project level. Let's see that case. Okay, here if you see, this is one example. This is a smaller change with this version. Like here we have the organization under which the folders. Here we can divide the folders into the different environments. Here we are deciding the environments at this stage, in the folder stage. So development, test, and the production. And within that you can have the project in case if you want to maintain with the separate departments in order to maintain separate billing. Maybe you can go this way, or otherwise you can directly select the applications or the project level, the actual projects or the functionality you can bring it here, and within that you can have the database as the data sets here. If we are having the OLTP system or the operational data sources, then maybe if you are reading the data from that specific source, if you want to mark this here, you can have the data set mentioned as the data source, and within that you can have those tables and views. We may have a challenge here in case if you are bringing the data from SQL Server, wherever the database, if you are having the schema in between, then since we don't have the schema concept in the BigQuery, either we have two options here. Either we have to rename those table names from the sources by prefixing the schema in that way, because there is no guarantee that the table names are unique among the different schemas. Okay, so you may have the same names in the different schemas. In that way, to avoid those problems, you can prefix those schema names in the table. So in case if you feel like increasing the in that way you have to prefix the schema name in all the hundreds of tables, then you can bring the schema name with the data set here along with the database source itself. If the data source is application 1, if this is the DB, then you can suffix with the schema name here. In that way, the BigQuery dataset will be multiplied with the number of SQL Server schema that you are having, or similar hierarchy if you are having in your database. And then you can directly bring the tables or the views. So if you are keeping the table names or the view names from the source, you may have a benefit here, because when you are migrating the migrating your on-prem database to the BigQuery, then you may need to migrate your the SQL dialects into the BigQuery SQL dialect. So there is an option in BigQuery that you can translate your for example SQL Server T-SQL scripts to, or MySQL scripts to the BigQuery scripts, because although all are SQL dialects, but the dialects are different, so you can use those translations. So when you are making those translations, so you will have a less overhead that, or since you are maintaining the same table name from the source to the BigQuery destination, so you may have to spend a little bit time on just tweaking the query. Or if you are changing the table names here, maybe we may have to work more. So this option may work better. So the another one is similar to that, but what we are introducing is the zones here. If you see the organization folders with the same environment differences, and then in the project we are having two different levels of the project in the same hierarchy, but I'm dividing into two different projects here, one for the raw zone and another one for the curated one. This in case if we wanted to maintain the as is schema from the different data sources for any audit purpose, or if you want to have a snapshot of those ODS or the OLTP systems for any auditing purpose, if you want to know at a specific time what was the data structure, what was the data availability of the actual core systems, then in that case we want to maintain those data as is. So we will bring those data into the raw zone of the project, and then you can have the curated zone where you will make your data cleansing or any corrections or the processing that you want to apply from those data sources. You can do that here. So this will be the source for any BI or data science or ML, or for any pipeline that you are building from here. This will be the data source for providing the data to any different departments or to any third parties even outside the organization. So this will be the source for building your data model, or if you are building a LookML, then this will be the data source. So this will help us to achieve the single source of truth by providing the proper curated, the cleansed data here. So in that case, this is also needed, that we cannot avoid, but at the same time, if we wanted to maintain the raw data from those different sources, maybe we can go with this approach. So apart from that, so other things will be same. So if you have any different opinion or different options that we can structure the data when we are using the GCP and the BigQuery especially, so you can comment it. Thank you.